my name is Asha. I'm the YWIB-Seattle ambassador. This is not my 20-second take of this intro. Welcome to this little showcase. Today I wanted to talk a little bit about the study techniques I've been using during home learning, specifically because it's so hard to get off 8 hours of Zoom and then take a bunch of notes, especially when there's like your phone and your phone. So yeah. But Asha, what qualifies you to teach us this? Good question, critical audience member. I'd say my grades, because I think ever since I've started using these techniques consistently, my grades have been consistently better, and in general I've felt better about the work that I turn in. Hopefully it can help you feel the same. Yeah, let's get into it.
The first tip I have for you today is to make a micro goal checklist.
Okay, so I especially like this strategy if I've procrastinated a lot and I end up with a bunch of work in one night, which is like, it happens too much. Yeah, it's super overwhelming to like get off Zoom and have your brain be all toasted and then look at a big stack of work and just have to get it all done in one night. So what a micro goal checklist does, it's kind of like breaks it up into more palatable chunks. That way you just take it one chunk at a time and it's not, you won't go crazy basically.
Get out a piece of paper, or your planner if you have one, and write out all the assignments you have to complete, and then figure out how to divvy up each assignment into about 5-minute chunks, and each 5-minute chunk is your micro goal. And this might be by assigning yourself a certain amount of paragraphs to read or a number of sentences to write. You could also just set a timer for 5 minutes, but I find it's more effective to have concrete goals to finish. Anyhow, write out your checklist with all your micro goals, then slowly start to work through each one. Cross off the goals as you go, and you can take little 1 to 2 minute breaks in between each goal, and you could take like a 5-minute break every time you finish a whole assignment. Tip number 2 is to take notes, but only take useful notes.
Often that means not taking a lot of them. But Asha, aren't smart students writing all the time? Not necessarily, no. It feels productive to write lots and lots of notes, but frankly, especially if you're reading from a textbook or watching a lecture, that can be really overwhelming. Often it's not the most effective way to learn the content. Being selective in your note-taking makes you think more about what's actually important to write down, and helps you group ideas as well and summarize. Those are all really good thinking processes, and it makes your hand hurt less. It also uses less paper. Anyway, yeah, it is a form of analyzing, and because it's concise, you can more easily read through it again, and like, you can even draw diagrams, which helps you process the content even more. Yeah, and you might be thinking like, okay, summarize is kind of a broad instruction, and that's just because it really depends on the class. So like, some classes require you to know a lot of those details that they're saying during the lecture, in which case, worst case scenario, you really just have to take all those notes. Best case scenario, the teacher will like let you record whatever they're saying or doing. So yeah, it really depends again, but I'd say for me, for most classes, when I'm doing like work out of a textbook, I limit myself to 1 sentence per paragraph at most. Sometimes like 1 sentence for 2 paragraphs will work. It depends on the textbook, but I try to limit myself so that I'm not writing pages and pages, and it saves me a lot of time, and I think it helps me learn the content better. So hopefully that helps you.
Tip number 3 is to study in the way that'll be most effective for the type of test that you're taking.
Yeah, this might seem obvious, but I find like a lot of times people are studying in a way that's not the best for the type of test they're taking. Some tests are more content heavy and the questions like are heavily rely on the facts and the details that you learned, while other tests are more like about thinking processes, like for example, essay questions on random topics. They're more about have you learned how to structure this piece of writing? Have you learned how to do a cause and effect analysis? So yeah, depending on the type of test, you should use a study technique that fits best.
If the test is content heavy and the questions are going to be about specific facts, study accordingly. So reread the sources that you were given and make flashcards or something that will solidly plant the facts in your brain. Usually this involves writing them down.
Sometimes, actually, I like to make Kahoots instead of Quizlets, where each fact is a question, because it forces me to think about the right answer, but then also a bunch of answers that seem right but are actually wrong.
It just forces me to engage with the content more, and it's super helpful. And plus, when you're done, you can play it with your friends as a way to review last minute.
And if the test is a little bit less focused on content and a little more focused on applying thinking processes, and obviously your studying is gonna look a little bit different, because Quizlet can't teach you deep thinking skills. Those are things that you work on and you develop over time.
For these kind of tests, I usually focus on doing my classwork and homework really thoroughly throughout the unit and asking a lot of questions, rather than taking time to make a big study guide.
Usually, if I want to review the night before, I look through all of my notes and all of my assignments that I've done throughout that unit, and I just go through and sort out anything that kind of confused me. So for math, any problems I got wrong. And then I usually try and explain it to myself out loud, because I find that if you can explain something, especially if you pretend to explain just like a kindergartner, and you can do it well, you know what you're talking about. So yeah. And then I practice any thinking skills I might need by making questions that I think might be on the test. So for math, that would be thinking about all of the techniques that we've been using, or any kind of thought process that we've been using in writing a big word problem. I do the same thing with writing classes, actually. If there's a big writing test, then I'll just give myself a prompt that would force me to use maybe some kind of thought process that we were learning about, maybe some type of cause and effect or something like that. For science, sometimes I make fake data sets or experiments, or I look some up and then I try and do a data analysis. That's always kind of fun. But yeah, those are super helpful for me, and I hope they're helpful for you.
The sun went down and the lighting changed and I don't like it anymore.
Anyway, that's okay. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you find these useful. Obviously everyone's different, so I find these useful, but you might find other techniques useful. I don't know. So let me know if you try them and if they work. Hopefully they do. Yeah, thanks so much for watching. Subscribe. There's so much cool content on this channel. Yeah, good luck studying.